Is someone else there?
Yes.
Oh, Daniela. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
It's coming. I'm sorry. I'm probably the last person to put this up there. So I'm not super great. I'm just gonna put this link on the BYU. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Because Griffin was asking where it was. So I just sent it, like I sent it to all of you guys on your Gmail, but I don't think he picked that one up. So
Okay.
So I don't know. I think this is going right now. Like these just automatically record, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I think in the top right where it says live.
Right. So it's like, the professor is going to be like, this is great. Like she's just been staring at the screen for the past 10 minutes. So I'm sorry. Like I said, I was probably the last person to put this together. Oh, good. Kanisha, you're here.
Hi.
Thank you for the heads up on the Google Hangout there. I forgot about that. It's been a couple semesters since I've had to do that.
Yeah, I've only had a couple classes have to use it, and they were several semesters ago. So.
Right. Well, if I would have been really good and had read better, I would have known to use. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
That's fun.
A pretty crazy week, so I'm trying to focus.
You are fine.
I don't know if you saw, Kanisha, I think you wrote on the discussion board. You wrote on the discussion board. Did you, Daniela, write anything on the discussion board?
I'm trying to think of which one.
The one that's linked to just our group.
Oh, I'd have to go check.
Hi, Griffin.
I just posted the time, even though we'd all decided on the time.
Okay.
I was reading over it again today, and I had missed that part.
I was like, I don't know what. Email is just as easy, so I didn't care about the discussion board.
How are you, Griffin?
Looks like his mic's off.
Hey, your mic might be off, Griffin.
But, oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay, was that him? I thought I heard somebody's voice, maybe not. Or is that just you? Okay, so I think, let me see. Oh wait, he left. Maybe he got out and is coming back in. We'll watch for a second. So just, I mean, I don't know. I think we're supposed to each take 15 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be a facilitator.
Yep.
Hi, Griffin. See that? It says you're back.
It still says his mic is off.
Griffin, it still says that your mic is off.
I wonder if he knows like where to click it, because if you hover over the screen, you can mute your microphone.
Right.
So I wonder if he's looking for, I don't know.
So at the very top of mine,
Okay.
maybe not. Is it the control room? No.
Well, because if you hover over like the picture, it'll pop up.
Right. Okay. Did he leave? Oh, he left again.
Yeah. Could be something with his computer.
Oh, darn. Well, I hope he can figure it out. I don't want the control room. That's not what I want to do. Okay. Are you there, Griffin? Maybe. Do you have a video camera? Darn.
Oh.
Yes. Hi, Griffin.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Hi.
Don't worry about it. Hey, I guarantee you, like, I'm the old lady of this group, so it's a miracle I got everything up and going. Sorry.
Did great.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
So this is what I think. You guys tell me if I'm right, if I'm not. We're supposed to do 15 minutes each of facilitating the group discussion, correct?
Right, that's what I saw.
Okay.
Uh,
And for each of those 15 minutes, each of us is supposed to take on a different role. Right? Okay. So are we just gonna, should we just say every time pick a new role, or do we need to like state which one we're supposed to be, or no?
There wasn't as much direction as I thought.
So should we just say, this person's going to start facilitating, and then everyone just pick a role? But maybe.
Yeah, that way we don't have silent ones. That wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
Right. So we should probably state which one we're doing, maybe. So we don't.
Yeah.
So we're not all
Yeah, I think so.
unresponsive participants. That would be a bad.
Let's just,
Okay.
let's all be the silent one.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
So does anybody want to go first? Does anyone have a preference?
I can go first. I looked into stuff, but I also don't feel super confident. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I don't think any of us feel super confident, to be honest, but that's why we're here. We're learning, right?
You record this, right, on YouTube?
I'm recording it.
Okay.
It's live right now.
Right, it's live right now, so it'll record and it should, I just have to send the link to the professor and she'll watch it.
Yeah.
So, and I was
I think we just posted to the discussion board.
or yeah, wherever I'm supposed to push it. But we were supposed to be communicating on the discussion board, so I apologize because I didn't catch that. So Kanisha and I both wrote on there, but we did email. We all participated. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Kanisha, you said you wanted to go ahead and go first?
Sure. I can be a guinea pig.
You're so brave. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started so then we're not like hanging on forever. All right. Do your thing.
All right. So I didn't know a ton about diabetes. I just had a cousin who had diabetes, but I just wanted to ask if any of you here in the group know somebody with diabetes or have diabetes yourself.
My sister has diabetes.
I've had a few roommates that have had to deal with it as well. I mean, living with them, I've had to see like what they have to eat and kind of do all of their insulin pumps and shots and stuff.
Yeah. Daniela just mentioned a couple of different things, but I was wondering if we wanted to do I like the word scramble or whatever, where we select a topic and then we each say a word that we relate to diabetes or the topic. So I'll like make a list of all the words and things that go with diabetes that we can think of. Then we can kind of discuss some of those topics afterwards. But so yeah, the topic is diabetes. And I just wanted you guys to throw out words that you relate to diabetes or actions or anything like that.
Okay.
Ketoacidosis is not part of diabetes.
There you go.
The longest one.
That's a big one.
You're making my spelling have.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Do that again.
Insulin.
Yeah.
Sugar.
Needles.
Yeah. Or too much sugar. Oh. Sugar.
Needles.
Needles. Yep. I think about blood pressure, like your blood, like they always do the little shot thing in their fingers.
Oh yeah, blood sugar. Their
Real quick.
blood levels, like their sugar levels.
Griffin, do you have any words that you relate to the word diabetes?
Shots.
Yeah. I had, like, my cousin, he was, we would always hang out. I mean, he was like, he was born with type 1 diabetes. And I always saw him get his shots when I stayed over at his house, and they always looked painful. But
I feel
I
like
always think,
I think it's a scary diagnosis, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think about the pump. Like, my cousin always had to, like, do the pump and watch when he went, like, he had to take it off when he went swimming.
Mm-hmm. And I think time management, because they're always like on the clock of like when they need their next shot, or just always keeping track of like how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
So my son's friend was diagnosed like when he was 12 with it, and it was pretty serious. Like, he was super tired all the time. Like, he would sleep like all day. It was crazy. Anyway, but they had to teach my son how to give him his shots, and so that when they went to scout camp, they had, so if they were hiking, and he was like his diabetes buddy. So he knew whatever he had to administer if he went into diabetic shock or something. So, which was a lot for a 12-year-old. I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of responsibility.
No
But
kidding.
he handled it okay. He was fine with it.
Kid. Let's see. Any other words that you associate with diabetes, or feelings or actions, anything like that?
Maybe exercise, because I know that helps control blood sugar levels.
Good idea.
Oh, neuropathy is a big one. Like,
The word.
neuropathy is, well, it's when you lose like feeling in your feet. That's why like diabetics have to be really careful, and
They cut their toenails.
like, yeah, they have to make sure, because like my brother-in-law, well, he's diabetic, and he had like a blister on his foot, and within like a day it had turned into huge sore, and so he's like in wound care, and he has to have it. I mean, had he not noticed, like, it could have led to amputation.
That's insane.
Be really careful. Yeah, it was, and it happened like that, and it's disgusting. It's so gross. Like, my chest is scraped. Ugh, it's so gross. It's so bad. Anyway, yeah.
Interesting. So, trying to think what I also, like, they measure their food. Like, I always had like a cousin who had to measure the amount of food so he knew how much insulin to give himself.
Oh, bolus. That's the word. Bolus is the word. That's like, well, it's like the extra amount of insulin that they have to give themselves. Like you just said, they have to measure their food and count their carbs. So if they eat a carb, like a extra carbs, they have to have.
They have to balance it out.
To balance it out.
Yeah, so he was always doing math
Bolus,
to make sure he was doing it right.
Right.
Very cool. Well, I think we came up with a pretty good list. We mentioned a couple of the things I wanted to talk about now. So the objective that I want to kind of have for this discussion is that we'll be able to list like 3 actions or things a person can do to manage their diabetes. And we came up with a couple that kind of address some of the topics that I found. One was blood glucose, and one was exercising, and making sure that, like, we know our health. I think somebody said knowing our health. I can't remember what that was. Anyways, but I'm gonna like send you a link real quick that has this little flyer. You'll pull it up. And this one talks pretty, I just wanted to kind of go to step 2 because I thought it was interesting. They talk about knowing your ABCs of diabetes. I'm pulling it over so I can make sure I have it. Griffin, would you mind reading the first part about step A, like A of the ABCs?
Yeah, just loading it up right now. Okay, so you said A?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so A1C is a blood test that measures your average blood sugar level over the past 3 months. It is different from the blood sugar checks you might do each day. The A1C goal for many people with diabetes is below 7. Ask your healthcare team what your goal should be.
Perfect. Thank you. So did anybody have questions about that?
So that's the test that they do where they prick their finger, right?
So it looks, sorry, Daniela, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, sorry, you're good. So I think that it's a little bit different.
No. Okay, I just thought because it measures over the past 3 months, so they have to draw blood for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you, Daniela, be willing to read part B
Yeah.
of the ABC?
So blood pressure is the force of blood against the wall of your blood vessels. And if your blood pressure gets too high, it makes your heart work too hard. And then your blood pressure goal should be below 140 over 80 unless your doctor helps you set a different goal.
Sweet.
I think something with that is I ran cross country in high school, and I know certain athletes have to get different regulations from their doctor, just reoccurring appointments just to make sure that their blood pressure's at the right I guess peak during exercise, and they're just being careful.
So are those athletes that have diabetes or just athletes in general?
Yes, athletes that do have diabetes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that. I didn't even when I read about it, I didn't even think about blood pressure. I didn't think of that as something that would be helpful for somebody with diabetes to know. So I thought that was interesting.
That either. So.
And then Gretchen, would you read part C?
Sure. There are 2 kinds of cholesterol in your blood, LDL and HDL. LDL or bad cholesterol can build up and clog your blood vessels. HDL or good cholesterol helps remove the bad cholesterol from your blood vessels. Ask your healthcare team what your cholesterol numbers should be, and if they are not where they should be, ask what you can do about it.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just learned in some other reading I was doing this week that HDL should be low.
Mm-hmm.
And LDL, you want your HDL to be low, the lower the better, I think is what it was saying. Or no, you want the HDL to be high and your LDL to be low. Sorry.
Whichever it was. I think it was HDL was stand for the healthy something, and then L was lame or something. I can't remember how they remember it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just grabbing up Griffin's email, see if he's okay.
Oh wait, did I just go out?
No, you're still live.
I can't find maybe it's here. Is it here? Oh, there I am. Sorry. I'm like, where did you all go? I don't know where you went. Okay.
It looks like Griffin cut out because he was on the school's Wi-Fi, so he's
fair enough.
He's trying. It's not letting him into the Wi-Fi. So, and his phone's about to die. So I don't know if he'll be back. Hopefully he'll be back.
Okay.
Sorry, this isn't professional, but I didn't know when I started.
You just have 4 more minutes. I've been watching. Well, 3 more minutes, technically.
Excellent. So I loved like I said, I thought the ABCs were interesting. I hadn't thought about that, and a couple of the ways that we can manage the diabetes. So I thought that was cool. What are some other like lifestyle changes people with diabetes would have to make?
I think people need to exercise because they have to offset what they've eaten.
Mhm.
That's a big part of it. But you also have to be careful because, like, if you get, like my brother-in-law who got that wound, that's kind of a bummer for him because he couldn't walk for a long time. But walking is what helps keep his blood sugar levels low. So, it was tricky for him.
Yeah, it's kind of the catch-22. You have to like walk and exercise to be healthy, but if you like slack off on it and you get hurt, you can't do that. So it's my family always did swimming. They always liked swimming. They said that helped.
I think that's what I would think. If I had diabetes, that's what I would try to do because
low impact.
So much. Yeah. You wouldn't feel like you had so much to, like, it would be less likely to get a wound, I guess, in the water. Unless you hit
American Epidemic goes over a lot of diabetes in just different ways, how they have to adjust to new lifestyles. And I think just listening to your body is the most important, just because everyone's going to be so different and you just have to be careful in different environments with different activities.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
So this last link I sent you just had a couple other ways we can like manage our to manage diabetes. Since we're about out of time, but like I said, the objective was to be able to identify at least 3 actions someone can take to manage their diabetes.
Great.
And so I just want to hurry and ask each of you what you learned and if a couple things that somebody could do to manage their diabetes.
Well, diet and exercise and I think the biggest thing I learned was that they have to watch their blood pressure. I didn't know that.
Very cool. Thank you. How about you, Daniela?
I guess I don't know too much about the neuropathy, but I just know that there's so many different other things that can stem from diabetes, and like especially having it as a young kid, there's so many things that if you do wrong, it can go downhill so fast. So just being super careful of just taking the time and effort, because it's not something you're gonna want to live with. Obviously, you just gotta trudge through it for your life. So learning just like the specific things you need to do on a daily basis and preventing yourselves from making it worse, I think. I don't know. Just made me realize that more.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
So do we move to the next facilitator, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks for all your participation and your comments.
Do you want me to go?
If you want to go ahead, Danielle.
Okay. So in one of my classes, I'm doing like a nutrition research project. So I've just been thinking about that a ton. So I figured we could do it towards that. So, I mean, some of us are in, I don't know, we all have different backgrounds and where we live, and how many of you are off campus?
I am.
Maybe. Okay. Both of you? Okay.
Way off.
So I'm actually on campus.
I'm an online student, period. So.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, how do you feel like you're able to keep track of like your nutrition and exercise? Just kind of correlating with like your major and what you're learning. Do you feel like you're able to like be on top of your nutrition and exercise, and are you motivated to do it? That was probably just so many questions right there, but we can just start with ways that you can be motivated to have a good, healthy diet.
For me, it's a lot easier if I prepare, or think about before the week starts what I'm going to eat for my meals. Because when I don't do that, I get really lazy.
Right.
And just eat whatever's in the house or at Wendy's or wherever. I don't know where I go. So yeah, I think thinking about what I'm going to eat before helps.
Mhm.
But I don't always do that. This week in particular.
Okay. So what are ways that you have you tried meal prepping, or have you made like lists to go grocery shopping? What are some ways that you've found that have helped? This is kind of for both of you, so it doesn't matter.
List more because I think of the meals I want to eat that week, and then I make a list of what I need to buy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think that works sometimes, but for me, I don't know. Sometimes the list doesn't really. Maybe I'll buy this stuff, but then I don't ever make it, or so I don't know if it really helps me.
What helps you then?
I don't know. It's tricky. It's hard to get that organized. It's hard to do. It's, your kids don't want to eat it. If your husband doesn't want to eat it. So sometimes it's not really worth the battle.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and it can be hard, especially with kids. Not everyone likes the same things. It's not always fun eating necessarily some of the healthier things. So I guess we can talk about some like ways we can kind of change a meal to maybe being a little bit healthier, or I'm just trying to go more towards like following some of the ACSM My Plate guidelines, which a lot of like the health science courses want us to follow. So I guess I can start with a few examples that I've done. And if you guys can think of anything, or I guess we can all look up a recipe or something. But one of them is adding like cauliflower to mashed potatoes. It kind of hides it, and it still tastes great. And is really just like making salads as a side, or like instead of taco soup, you could do like taco salad. So yeah, those are two. Do any of you guys have any alternatives or things that you like to add into your recipes that you would recommend or try to do?
One thing you possibly can do is add some legumes, because some of them, kind of like the cauliflower, they don't have a lot of taste on their own. So you kind of can mix them in things to make things thicker, put a little more fiber in there to make it not so sugary for you.
Right. Keeping away from the sauces and stuff. Now they say that you can make like rice out of cauliflower. They just basically tell you to just chop it up super small. And I think it tastes great. It's really just trying to think of it before you're on the spot. And I think a part of that is making the list and going ahead to be mindful of that. Because obviously when you're hungry, you want to eat on the spot and you're just going to snack and choose the easier option, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you feel like your nutrition affects your mood? Do you think it has a big influence or not so much?
Huge.
Yeah. All right.
Getting hangry is a real thing.
Yes, I would agree to that. Let's see. I guess we can talk about exercise along with nutrition. I think both of those together definitely balance out to be a great result. Have you guys ever done any like exercise programs or anything?
Yeah. It's hard to get into the habit.
Yeah.
Sorry about
And
that.
it's not for everyone. Some people like the structure, some people don't. Some people just, with your schedule, it can be difficult to keep the
My
same
biggest thing
thing
is
every
getting
day.
down with my kids because
Right.
they get into a good like groove, and then they have dentist appointments or doctor's appointments, or I have parent-teacher conference. It just seems like super distracting, you know, and then it's easy to get off course. So it's tricky. I think it's tricky.
I think one easy way that you could even do that, like I don't know how old or young your kids are, but is like taking them to the park and running around with them, or going to a gym that they can go to. What are some ways that you guys think that you guys could help yourself get to where you want to, or just
Are you talking about just for exercise purposes or all aspects of life?
exercise or nutrition?
Okay. Well, one thing as far as nutrition goes, and I don't know if you said before, but it's crucial to make like the change in food a family thing, because if the one person that has the issue is making all the changes, but you still have like chips and soda and all this stuff available, then it makes it that much harder because they're by themselves, kind of, on an island kind of thing. Where if the whole family is involved, it makes it a lot easier, I think, as far as getting everyone included to make better choices.
So something that's worked for me is making lists to go to the grocery store, because if I'm getting stuff for specific recipes, I'm able to make exactly what those recipes are calling, which I know it doesn't work for everyone, but that just helps me to stick to some healthy meals, because whatever you have in your house, you're going to eat, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard with my kids because it's hard, I always tell them fruits and vegetables, they're fair game. You eat whatever, eat as many as you want, but it's not always what they want,
Yeah.
So that's hard because then, I try really, really hard to incorporate lots of fruits and vegetables and healthy foods, but I have 5 kids that are all picky, so probably.
Well, and I think like Daniela was saying that, especially as you're the mom, you can just bring in healthy stuff. It makes it so if there's no other options, and it's like, well, you don't want it, then you go hungry. And I know that's like not the best, but it helps it's tough love mentality. Yeah.
Because especially
my husband's family.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My husband's family, they had 4 boys, and like his mom never had alternatives to eat at mealtime. Like it was just like, this is it. So if you want to eat, then that's great. But he's like one of the least picky eaters I've ever met. So
there you go. Props to you.
I don't know if that works for everyone, but it worked for them, I think.
I can try. I don't know if it'll work, but I can certainly try.
Yeah.
Faith.
Just a little improvement, right? It'll help.
Yeah. Well, and even
it won't be bouncing off the walls as much.
Right.
What you can even do is incorporate them into it. Because right now, I mean, with the internet or Pinterest or whatever, you can literally find the healthy alternative of everything. Right. So if they like marshmallows, look at healthy marshmallows, and there's going to be a recipe or something for that. There's always alternatives. Include them, make them search for it.
One mom that I know that's like super, she's a trainer, and she's like really on to just make every meal like the healthiest it can be. And something that she does is she includes her kids in the cooking in the kitchen. So like they're going to be super curious to try. And this goes for if you have kids now or in the future. Like having them help you measure stuff or cut stuff up, and obviously stuff that's safe for their age, but just allowing them and exposing them to be around it. I think they're going to be excited to try it. I don't know. I found that has worked too. So do you guys have any questions on any my objective was just to go over some like nutrition and exercise tips that will help motivate us or direct us into a better mood or, I don't know, school routine.
I think it's good.
Yeah. I think I'm good.
All right. So do we move to the next one? I don't know. Okay.
Yep.
Griffin, it's either you or me.
I'll do it.
All right.
Well, hi guys. So welcome to our meeting today. Today we're just gonna do a quick little summary on food because I love food, but more importantly, how it affects us. Does anybody know what glucose is? Not glucose, carbohydrates is. Do you know what carbs are? When you hear that word, what do you think about it?
Pasta.
What?
It's a macronutrient.
Yeah.
It's used in your body for brain function, for energy. I mean, it's a type of energy your body uses.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so what are some of the common, I guess, forms of carbohydrates that we can consume?
Pasta.
Grains, pasta, fruits and vegetables.
Sweet potatoes.
Yeah, awesome. So those are perfect. So as diabetics, or if you have family members who are diabetics, carbs is definitely one of the main things you have to worry about in terms of better choices versus not so good choices. And the reason being is because, as was said, carbs is how your body basically forms the energy that you need to run yourself. But some choices burn through your body a little bit faster, and some are more kind of a slow burning effect. Has anybody had that kind of food coma where you eat like a bunch of candy and then you just crash and you get super groggy? Has anybody had that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially around this season, you got Halloween coming up. It's just something that always happens. So it's a great example of how eating tons of sugar will crash you. So with diabetics, you got to be more careful because that sugar will do extreme harm. So part of proper diabetic care is knowing what foods kind of have that effect. So there's something called glycemic index. Has anybody heard of that before?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So glycemic. So explain to me what is glycemic index. Whoever wants to.
Glycemic index is what it's how quickly the carbs are converted and digested and used. So some of them, if they have a high glycemic index number, they're converted to sugar quickly. So they're digested fast, so that would make your blood sugar go higher. If they have a lower one, it takes longer for the body. Those are more complex carbohydrates. They have other nutrients in there that slow down that process.
Perfect. So as a diabetic, what do you think what spectrum, what side of that spectrum would you want to have as a diabetic?
Low. Yes.
Exactly. So can you kind of said it earlier, but what are some kind of examples of low glycemic index foods?
Vegetables are usually pretty low. There are like some that are higher. Fruits also vary on the spectrum. I think berries are fairly low. Apples are fairly low. Bananas are high. Things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really nice. We don't have to go right now, but the American Diabetes Association has a really nice little kind of a little chart. But you can also look up diabetic or glycemic index, and you actually can input foods to find that exact number. But generally speaking, like you were saying, vegetables is a great place. Usually has very low glycemic index. Complex carbs, so we can do some grains. Grains are kind of hit and miss thing. They're kind of the rule of thumb is the more processed the higher your glycemic index is. So if you like bread, if you like pasta, you want to eat stuff like that has more oatmeal, would have little seeds, like bread. You know, look at the crust, has little seeds on. That's usually pretty good.
Fiber content helps too. The higher
Exactly. Yeah.
Content, the lower that helps with that number as well.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that earlier, that there's other substances inside the food that helps lower the glycemic index. And that's actually, fiber is a huge one, but also protein and fats, kind of depending on, and then that's hard to combine. So more fats lowers the glycemic index, but it's also not very healthy for you. It's kind of a juggling match. But with extra protein, extra fat, fiber, those all will help lower a food that has to a lower glycemic index amount. So that's extremely important. Let's see here.
Protein actually slows down, like it helps slow down the process of carbohydrates so they don't process as quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always a really good idea to always have some type of protein with those carbohydrates, because that definitely helps. I do know for diabetics, that's a key.
Yeah, definitely. I know for me, I don't have diabetes, but I have hypoglycemia, which kind of similar effects in some ways. But I know a cheater way for me is if I'm eating something high in sugar, I can just grab a glass of milk, and that usually kind of slows it down because it has a high fat content, high protein content, comparatively speaking. But definitely.
Milk and Oreos.
Say again? That's right. You gotta pair it. It makes a difference.
Hypo or hyper?
Hypo.
Hypo. Okay.
Yeah.
So low. You suffer from low blood sugar most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that actually ties into something else. So part of positive eating as a diabetic is you want to try to maintain that blood sugar as much as possible. So proper insulin if you're taking insulin, but definitely eating just kind of throughout the day, smaller meals, because when you eat a big something and then you don't eat for a while, that's that whole kind of weighty crash thing, and that's not good. So just I'm gonna give you like a minute or so. Think of so breakfast is typically the hardest meal for diabetics, just because as our society, breakfast is usually carb filled with just, super sweet stuff, cinnamon, sugar, and all that good stuff. So just take a couple minutes here, about a minute. Think of a diabetic friendly breakfast that you would enjoy having. So just kind of think about it, and as soon as you have an idea, go ahead and say, thinking about that glycemic index without spiking our sugar too much. So just go ahead and think, and we have an idea, go ahead and say it.
I don't know. I like the rolled oats, and then I usually put like a tablespoon or so of peanut butter in it, and then like berries. I like berries in it. So it's usually what I like.
It's very tasty. Sounds good.
So eggs are always a good option for diabetics. I personally don't think that it's bad to eat the yolks, because there's a ton of nutrients in there. I know they say cholesterol, it's so bad, but actually eggs get a bad rap for cholesterol. They're actually really good.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. You can do egg whites and throw a bunch of vegetables in there.
Spin it, kind of turn it into an omelet.
Yeah, omelet, and then you can also have a side of berries, or maybe, if you need to have some more carbs, you could have a small piece of like whole grain
toast with peanut butter.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Egg, like an omelet with like whole grain toast with peanut butter, and I think the peanut butter kind of helps instead of like butter and jam.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, I think those are all awesome meals. It's definitely one of those things where you have to make changes, but it's not the end of the world, And if you want like the taste of jam, well, you do a very small amount, so it's a real taste. I think society now we overindulge, and that causes diabetes usually in the first place. So yeah, great input, guys. Do you have any questions at all?
So
All right. Well, that's all I got.
Good job, Griffin.
Nailed it.
Thanks.
Okay, so I guess I have to go since I'm the last, right? I'm going to say in this case, last is not the best of all the game. Okay, so I was thinking more of the aspect. So my sister has diabetes, and I feel like she and I are really close, and I feel like it has changed the dynamic a little bit in our family. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus about, is more the family dynamic of it and what happens in a family when a family member is diagnosed with diabetes. What kinds of things do you guys think, what are kind of the maybe thoughts, emotions that happen when you have a loved one that has to now deal with this diagnosis, this diabetes? What do you think?
I think you just want to be there to understand what they're going through so they don't feel like left out. So kind of like what I said, just kind of making it a family thing, like making sure that you're like eating things that they can eat too. You know, don't be eating like a bag of candy in front of them when they can't be.
Right, that's awesome. We're going to get
influence them.
I love that. What about you, Griffin? What do you think?
Well, that's the thing. It's like if, you know, my grandma has diabetes, whenever she comes over, we have to not eat sweets. But it's like, is it fair for us to be punished for her bad choices throughout her life?
I would say just like making sure there's an option for her there, but you guys still being able to have your own thing. Because, I mean, obviously all the time that would be like, okay, we can never have dessert over at her house. But I guess just making them feel included or having something there that they're able to have, but you guys can also enjoy what you guys can have too.
That's a great idea, Daniela. I like that. For example, well, so my mom is completely defined by her cooking. And she's old school, like comfort food, you know, everything's made from scratch. So that's a little bit better, but still it's not super healthy and it's not super diabetic friendly at all. So it's really stressful for my sister to have to eat there. And so I've been trying to help my mom in, you know, without making her feel bad, without making her feel like she needs to change everything. But hey, maybe she's coming today, so how about let's do this meal because it's more diabetic friendly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it's not this struggle for my sister when she's there, that she can't really eat it, or if she does, she has to go, you know, boost up her insulin shot or whatever. So
right.
What about you, Kanisha? What do you think? What are some of the things that you feel kind of affect the family right at the beginning?
Probably just that initial, like, oh, this is how we're gonna have to like change our life a little bit, you know, like you have to, I mean, it's not a death sentence if you do it well, but at the same time, it's hard to do it by yourself, and like Danielle was saying, making it a family thing and getting everybody on board, I think would be the harder dynamic, I guess.
So going back to what Daniela said, I wanted to just revisit where she said, let's make it a family thing. What are things that we can do as a family to be supportive? What are some things we can do so that she, you know, that family member doesn't feel guilty, because I know my sister feels like she's ruining everybody else's fun. Is that your experience or no? Because I've seen it both ways. I've seen some very, you know, everyone has to cater to me, and then some that are like, oh, I feel so bad, I'm ruining everything's fun, this is so awful. So how do you guys see yourselves in this family trying to answer both of those extremes, I think?
What I would do if I was like in the position, like if I had a sibling, I mean, I don't know if you like cooking or like say like for Thanksgiving, like your grandma wanted to make like something that wasn't healthy at all, that like your sister obviously couldn't eat. Maybe like spending that day or the day before like together cooking so that she could kind of have a say, but not like making her feel bad. like going to the grocery store and getting stuff with her and finding the recipe that would work for everyone.
I like that.
I think that would be a good idea. And then maybe like as far as like supporting them, or if they need to go like take a walk instead of playing maybe before a board game, like go take a 10-minute walk and then go play a board game.
I like that. That's really great. And I think that's something, adding that active lifestyle in, I know for my sister, a lot of times she has her goal every day. She goes and walks like 6 miles a day.
Yeah.
But sometimes, when the whole family's together, she's like leaving by herself to go walk.
Right. That's what keep doing that together.
Yeah. Just say, hey, I'll come with you.
Everyone needs it.
Yeah, it's more fun with more people anyway, right? Griffin, how would you deal with a family member that maybe feels like everyone should cater? That family member that's like, hey, you should need that because you said before, it was why should we have to pay for their bad choices? Mm-hmm. Now, some of those are bad choices. Some of it's just genetics. They're not a bad choice. So what do you think, or what kind of things can we do to kind of help them see that, yes, it affects all of us, but to different degrees maybe?
So you're saying with someone who kind of the entitlement.
Right. Because I've seen both. I've had experience with both types of personalities. So I would guilt them to help them realize that they're being a little bit of a hassle. Because kind of, generally speaking, in the supermarket, you're less more processed stuff is usually least expensive. And if you're feeding a family, let's say Thanksgiving or a family outing, buying stuff that's a little more, diabetic friendly is going to cost more. So, just leave that receipt out on the kitchen table so they see, oh gosh, and then say, oh yeah, it's a little higher.
Just slide it under the table.
Yeah. Here, do you want to reimburse me for that? That'd be great. Thanks.
Exactly. This is your diabetic tax. So yeah.
If you want to help you finance.
Yeah. Or something you could say, like, if your grandma, like, if you didn't want to offend the grandma, you could just like come with your own dish, knowing like, because that's her favorite thing to make or her traditional thing to make. Like, I don't want to force her to feel like she has to make something different. But on my end, if I want to enjoy like a certain version of something, I have to make a healthier version and come with it.
Right. That's
being self-conscious about that.
Right. I think that's great. Kanisha.
Because one, you can put yourself into the situation to or indulge and enjoy, but you have to put in the effort to make it. So
what if you have a family member that is not as diligent with their diabetic care? That's something else that I think affects family dynamic. So
yeah.
What would you do with a family member that you see is just kind of like, whatever, I'm still gonna eat whatever I want. My brother-in-law is kind of like that. So what would you do to maybe help them see the importance of really taking it seriously, I guess?
Is this the same brother-in-law that had the sores on his feet?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
He always he'll say, I'm on vacation. And I'm like, okay, you're on vacation a lot. I mean, but I worry about him. So how would you help that family member?
I think that's hard because you can't, like, it's his health, and as much as you want to help him, like, he has, like, you're not completely responsible for him or his actions or his food choices at all. And so, but I guess trying to either, because, like, if you're trying to be healthy anyways, finding substitutes and finding healthy options is something you're already kind of trying to do. So you can kind of just, like, as you're making it either something, just like, hey, so this is actually made with legumes or whatever. This is a lot better than using such and such. And, like, how does it taste? Oh, it tastes the same. Awesome. Well, this is, like, a really easy, like, recipe I found that's worth using because it's a lot healthier. I don't know. So, like, doing what you can when he's with you to like try to bring up, hey, this is a good option, and you're not sacrificing the flavor every time. You know, like it's.
That's a great
I don't
idea.
know. I guess, like I said, you can't help him when he's away from you, but you can do your best when they're with you to be like, hey, we love you, we care about you, we want you to be healthy, we want you here long. And these are some things that I've made that I think are easy and you might like too, or something. I don't know.
Well,
Hard to say.
and I also think real talk sometimes, you need to have some real talk, because we had an older couple in our ward who the wife led the husband. So the husband had diabetes, the wife didn't, and the wife kind of just let him do his thing, and he wasn't taking care of his body at all. And literally, she, like, not to be super dark, but basically she was burying him body part by body part. Like he lost his eyes, he lost one leg, then the other leg, and then like, I mean, just and then he, then he died. And so sometimes I think, especially in this case, where you're someone who you love, want to be in the family longer, kind of help them realize, if you keep trashing your body, you're not going to be around very long. And then his wife and his kids are going to have to take care of him because he's,
Right.
I mean, he already has sores on his feet, and that's a big step. That's some definitely not
Go downhill fast.
So
That's not easy to deal with.
yeah.
And it has monopolized my sister's time, which, I mean, she loves him. She'll do anything. But, I mean, think and maybe a little more conscious and a little better with his awareness, maybe.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that could be hard as a caretaker to not feel bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel bitter? Do you feel a little bit angry that here's this person that I love. I love them. I want them to be healthy. I want them with me for as long as I can. And they're not doing that. That's a tough situation to be into. How do you reconcile those feelings? Just like, I mean, Kenesha said, you can't make their decisions. So what do you do for yourself to help you not become bitter, not become angry, not feel like, you want to wring their necks a little bit? What do you think, Daniela?
I think a little bit of that. Like, it also depends on the person. Maybe like, I don't know, because you have to be careful with sarcasm and maybe like guilt tripping them a little bit. I mean, or I don't know. I'm probably not using the right word, but maybe
I
like
have 5 kids and you, and I'm already taking care of you. I don't want to take care of the 5 kids by myself.
yeah. No,
Whatever
not
it is.
that. I was thinking more like
For
he needs to take care of himself so he doesn't bring it on to like his kids and his future generation. So just kind of letting that reality settle in.
Right.
Preventable is not the right word, because I mean you can't always prevent diabetes, but at the same time you can prevent a lot of the effects, and
you can manage it.
A lot of it's daily little habits.
I like that. They're all giving such great ideas. I love it. So so let's just take a minute, and I want you guys to come up with one thing that you can do to help that family member. So whether it's the family member that, I just want one solid thing that you can do today to help that family member, help the family dynamic and help support them. So let's just take like a minute and think about, and then I'll give each of you a chance to think or to share what you came up with. That one thing.
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay. I think one is, I guess, like anytime you're with the family in a group setting, any holiday, birthday, dinner, whatever, is making it easy on them. Whether that's kind of going out of your way, maybe doing a little extra work and surprising them with something that they can have when your grandma's going to make something, or kind of setting up like a family walk, or just kind of being mindful before like that person's there, and like kind of surprising them with something that that they need, but they might not think of it for themselves.
Right. That's great. Awesome. Thank you, Daniela. How about you, Griffin?
Helping them realize that whether or not they take care of their body, that's not a personal choice. Because especially if they're married, or I mean, everyone has a connection. So like not taking care of their body and getting that subsequent, all the long side effects that can happen, it brings everyone else through it. I mean, no one, because like we said, you love your family, so you don't want, when Jim can't see because his eyesight's going bad, or his feet are always hurting because he's not taking care of his body. Like, that brings everyone else through the ringer too. It's kind of an emotional thing for everyone. So we're helping them realize that it's not just up to them. It's not a personal. The consequences aren't personal. It affects everyone. It helps kind of nudge them in the right direction, saying, you really, everyone's kind of suffering from your inactivity if you're, not taking care of your body.
All righty. I see that. It's probably important that people have a realistic outlook that, hey, this is affecting you. It affects everyone. How about you, Kenesha?
So like my cousin, sometimes he didn't have snacks and he needed the snacks. But so he would end up eating something that wasn't super healthy, but he needed to eat something. But my aunt and the family, when they were with him, like my mom would always try to have like healthy options, and then she would even try to like Daniela talked about family walks. Like she'd be like, "Hey, let's go to the park and do this or something." And there's something outside, but it got us active. And then she had healthy snacks after that helped. I don't know. So like preparing, knowing that, hey, so and so might need these, even if they don't always have them, but I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And I think
Go ahead, Daniela.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I just think one of the biggest things we can get from this is whether you're diabetic or not, it's going to either be preventing someone from getting diabetes or helping them so it doesn't get worse.
Right.
So like all these little things, like it's important to try and think of them and do them every day so that we can prevent more serious diseases that can come up. Yeah. So just being cautious about that.
Let's be honest, what's bad about anyone who doesn't have diabetes exercising and eating healthy foods? There's really nothing really not anything bad about that for them. And so it's an equally important thing for them too. So
absolutely,
even if you don't have the actual diagnosis of diabetes, you can gain a lot from doing it too. So.
It's not going to hurt you. Well, I think you guys have given some great input. I think we've really covered some pretty important aspects of diabetes and how it affects us, how diet and nutrition can help, how managing it well can help. So I think this has been a really effective meeting. So thanks for participating. All right, end the meeting. So do we have to video the debriefing? Is that part of?
Yeah.
Okay. So debriefing time. So the questions are, what did we find challenging as the facilitator? We'll start with that one. What did you guys find challenging?
Well, getting everyone to kind of be on the same page.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's hard. Well, and it's hard. I think sometimes as a facilitator, you kind of have in your brain where you want it to go, and it's not necessarily going that way, and you're like, I'm a control freak. I want to go this way, but you kind of have to be able to let it go naturally, I think. So,
yeah.
Right.
Maybe thinking of the right questions.
Oh, yeah. I thought that's good too. Awesome.
Like making sure the point of the meeting is clear. Like at the beginning, this is what we're going to do. I don't know. It was hard. I didn't do it very well.
I think all three of you did a very good job at that. I did not do such a great job at that, but you guys were all very clear about your objectives, I think. Absolutely. Good job.
I had topic points, but I didn't feel like it's hard to always connect your thoughts to what you're thinking. Luckily, a lot of us, it seems, either have backgrounds in nutrition or diabetes or know somebody with it, so that made the discussion a little bit easier. But like, there's always that chance that you have a group that nobody knows anything about diabetes, and you're just like, I don't know what to say. So, because I'm not an expert at it.
Awesome.
Well, like in this situation, what's kind of hard was like we all planned for different things, but there's always some little bit of overlap. So it's like if you've already kind of went over your points in the other person's discussion, then you're like, well, I have to make it up something on the fly because it was already kind of went over,
Right.
So,
Well, it all goes hand in hand too, so it all works out. So
that's true.
That's good. I thought it was still, I don't think we went over anything too much. Or I think I thought it was interesting that we all picked such different aspects. I was afraid we'd all pick the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
the same thing.
like, oh, let's talk about blood sugar. Let's talk about blood sugar. Oh, blood sugar? Okay, yep, let's talk about it.
Right. So the second question is, what did we learn about facilitating a support group during this particular activity?
I think it definitely, because I know in the reading it said you don't necessarily have to have a lot of knowledge, but I think it certainly helps because the more you can kind of like, the more you can wiggle around with the wiggle room based on who, input you're bringing in, I think that helps.
Right.
You don't know a whole lot, and then someone comes in from side left, and you're thinking, oh, I don't actually know much about that. It's
Right.
hard, to kind of gather everyone in. So I don't know.
It's nice to be able to fill in the blanks when you need to.
Exactly.
And I think that goes under preparation beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I feel like you almost have to find everything out before, like,
Yeah.
I have to know everything about this because if, like Griffin was saying, somebody brings this comment out of left field and you're just like, I didn't prepare for that. I don't know what to say. But at the same time, I guess that's probably a good talking and discussion point. Hey, this person brought up a really good question. We want to take a minute to kind of look up, see what we can find for him, and see if we can find any answers. So I guess another key would be not thinking you know everything too. There's always stuff to learn. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because I think if you go in as a facilitator and you say, I know everything, I think that's intimidating to the group as well.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to be the expert necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be there to facilitate a discussion and say, okay, this is what we're going to discuss. What's your idea? Because I feel like if you go in thinking you know everything, you're not going to listen.
Right.
Right. You're not going to really
have a discussion with anyone.
Right. It's going to be, I'm going to give you a lecture is what it's going to turn out like. So yeah, good point. Really good point. Anything else that we learned or I don't know. I think you guys.
I thought Gretchen did a good job at it, but just individually calling out for input from everyone, try to get their ideas because that there's quiet ones, there's others, just whatever, but trying to at least get everything.
I'm really good at calling kids out. That's really easy for me. Right.
I can do that.
Yeah, that's something I can handle. Awesome.
So I don't know, just trying to get input from everyone.
Right. I thought it was kind of challenging because, like if you had the negative one or you had the monopolizer or, I think where we were playing different roles, it wasn't as, it was kind of hard, but I think it would be even more difficult in a real setting if you have that antagonist that's
in
always
a business or right.
I just feel like that would be really a hard thing to
and much scarier on the spot.
Yeah. And those are hard to prepare for. How do you prepare for that? You don't know what's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So
how do you prepare for the jerk? Who knows?
Yeah.
Get out of my class.
Get out. No.
I guess that's, you could always set ground rules. Hey, if you're being disrespectful or you're calling people out on things and making other people feel uncomfortable, I will invite people to leave, I just say, I feel like you've reached a line. You should either go cool down and come back or don't come back, whatever it is.
Setting those ground rules, that's a great idea. I like that. Maybe that's something we didn't do, but that's something we definitely could learn for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, how do you guys feel? Do we adjourn? What do we do?
I think so. I think we covered it.
Right.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure to work with all of you.
Yeah.
I hope I haven't been too bossy. The mom.
No, not at all.
And for the record, my kids are really great eaters. And I plan, I'm like, this is a hard role to play, to be the negative one on this, because I'm really good at this. Actually, my kids eat really well. They're not worried about it. No, that's funny. Anyway, all right, well, I'll get this submitted. And
yeah, I think that we have to go in and say where we started, each of us. So is that something that you'll be able to tell on the YouTube?
Oh, the times?
Yeah, like I think you're supposed to list so-and-so started
Oh,
the
yeah, just
facilitator
when we
at this
started.
time.
So do we
and then
all
the
do it?
debrief. No, I think it's just the one.
Okay.
Let me double check. I have it open.
And submits it. So
Okay.
so I need to do the exact time when people start, right?
Yes. Let me double check. I'm pulling it up.
I remember reading that.
Include the time in the recording where each group member started playing the role of facilitator and the time when the group began the debrief discussion. So, yeah, so whenever I started, whenever.
Yeah, I would say just do the start for each person, and
Okay.
then we start.
You have to list who was here anyways. You have to list who is here, and then you can just say so-and-so started at this time, you start here. See, that's it.
Alrighty.
And then the debrief.
And then
I think that's all.
awesome. Well, you guys did great. It was a pleasure working with you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great night. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.